back in 2020, there was a big push in the Republican side of things to not vote for Donald Trump because he was a bad man. And because he was a bad man, you shouldn't vote for him and you should split the ticket and cause troubles and basically let the Democrats win because that makes you a good person. Well, unfortunately, I'm here to break that bubble or burst that bubble and explain why in the California race, it's very, very important that we don't split the ticket. And I'm going to have an endorsement that unfortunately doesn't bring me a tremendous amount of joy because I'm not a super fan of the guy who I'm going to endorse, to my 12 viewers. But it's important for us to know that we have to gather around one person. Otherwise, we absolutely will have zero chance in the California election. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm Caleb, and come with me on our journey through the headlines as we cover the impacts to yourself and your family. And in return, we try to impact the things that are around us and make a ripple effect in your community and in your home. Let's go ahead. So first off, I'll just come out and say it. There is right now a two-way battle when it comes to the governor in California between the Republicans. One is Steve Hilton and one is Chad Bianco. Chad Bianco has been a conservative sheriff in California for years at this point and has a great record. Was one of the most influential sheriffs during the time of COVID, where he stood against a lot of the nonsense coming out of Sacramento and refused to enforce their nonsense. I said nonsense twice. But the point is, a proven man, great guy, very much cowboy-esque kind of guy. He's from Riverside, so it makes sense, right? Very good guy. And then there's another guy, and this is Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton apparently was a Fox contributor. I don't even know, to be honest. The first I really heard of him was when he came to go for the governor of California. And I will say, in a state where the top two people get on the general election ballot, meaning if two Democrats are the top two, they will be the two that options come election day, or if the two Republicans were to get the top amount of votes, then those two would be in the runoff. Now, the first thing Steve Hilton did, and this did not exactly sit very well with me, knowing how the rules of California work, was instead of going after, all of the Californian Democrats that were running for governor, and including a horrible person at the time, Eric Swalwell. Now, he's out now, only he's still on the ballot. They weren't able to pull him off in time, but he's not in the race. He decided to go after Chad Bianco, the other conservative. So wasting ammunition on friendly fire as the first thing out of the gate does not impress me. And it reminded me of a story where we had Carl DeMaio here in California, who has done the most out of any Californian I know. And I know that some people have objections to him. I understand why, especially amongst religious circles. But Carl DeMaio has done so much for the state of California, with Reform California and so on. He's done a tremendous amount of work in California. And I've met him, I've talked to him, I've had a phone call with him. Now, he quit his radio show to go run for the congressional seat that was being vacated by a Republican. I think Hunter was the guy's last name. It was a long time ago. But there was a bad guy running for the Democrats, and the guy that was the Republican was vacating it because he was caught in basically fraud. At the time, this is shortly after or during the first Trump presidential time, and Darrell Issa was in the administration at the time, if you remember that first time around. Well, after Carl DeMaio quits the job that he has to go run for this position, saying, if no one else will do it, I will, then here immediately comes Darrell Issa, again, not immediately, but shortly after a while of him running for this position, comes in with the name, notoriety, and fame, and snatches it from Carl DeMaio. And then Carl DeMaio had to pick up the ashes of his life after trying to just serve his state. And one of the things that drove me nuts about that was Darrell Issa, the scumbag. And again, he might be a great person, but this is scummy. And if I had an interview with him, I'd be interested in asking him why he did these things. And I'd like to have an answer for it. But he was posting and putting lies up about Carl DeMaio. And when I called Carl DeMaio about it, he called me back and explained to me exactly what was going on and very clearly showed and stated and showed his record that that is not who he was. So it was complete fabrications. And honestly, I should have known because I've been listening to him for years on the radio. But Daryl Issa got the seat. Now we're in a situation right now where there's a guy by the name of Steve Hilton. He did pretty much similarly the same thing. Chad Bianco runs for governor. He's doing great on the polls. He's doing awesome. It's going really, really well. And what's the first thing that Steve Hilton does? Steve Hilton jumps in and immediately attacks him. This is after Chad Bianco had been running for a while. Not impressive, doesn't make me happy, but here's the problem. And this is where the consolidation happens. We have to be intelligent in California. And I understand that as of the last polling, Steve Hilton is ahead. Now, we can check it again, but he's ahead. And a lot of the Republicans in California are polling for him, so it's going to be the influence shoved in that direction. And since we have no other choice, he is a decent candidate. And something I will say for him is that Carl DeMaio has stated that both him and Chad Bianco are good men. So even though I'm irritated because it seemed like a replica of what happened to Carl DeMaio, he did say that they are good men. So we definitely need to rally behind Steve Hilton. And if you are a conservative in California and you want to make sure that a Republican has a chance, you need to go and support Steve Hilton. Now, we're going to get into some other fun stuff today. I have a section I'd like to call, because when I'm on the road and I'm doing my running around all throughout the day, I'm constantly listening to news, looking at stuff, researching stuff, and I take little snippets. I take little snapshots to remind me, and I almost feel like calling it like Caleb's iPhone snapshots, which that doesn't sound very good, and it doesn't really rhyme or anything. But I saw a picture, and it was an AI picture of what would happen if you district. So I think it was Grok was given a parameters of basically district America based off of population only. Don't worry about race, gender, party affiliation, none of that. Just do it exactly in increments that make sense. Make districts that make sense, not districts that are like Lobster. That's the famous Lobster one from Virginia, right? And they said how many delegates would be, or how many congressional seats would go for Republicans or Democrats if you just district based off of what makes logical sense and how the founding fathers would have envisioned breaking up the country. Do you want to know what the number is? And again, this is AI, and so it's just it's a play on what could have, what would have, right? Yeah. So basically, the entire state is red. Country, is red. The Republican would have had, according to this, if you just district off of population and made common sense, normal sized, normal shaped districts, the Republicans would have 280 seats in the House, with the Democrats having 156. I don't even think AI can make that big of a mistake. Which tells you, in how many of these states are the Democrats fabricating their seats so dramatically? You wonder why the Democrats don't want to fight against fraud. I forget, was it Illinois that voted to not remove dead people from its voter rolls? Why would you not want to? My brother, who hasn't lived in our house yet, now he wasn't registered Republican. This is the funny part. Still gets a ballot here, and I have to throw it away every time. He's told them that he's moved out of state, and still he gets a ballot here. Yeah, there's problems. And who likes it when we send more ballots than should be out there? Who likes it when there's no supervision over the ballots? The good guys or the bad guys? And you would have to think in your mind that it would be the bad guys. Well, in this situation, the Democrats are the ones that are winning by it. So who are the bad guys in this situation? Very clearly, very easy to understand. The Democrats. They are for fraud. They are for fraud. There's a funny thing I saw that I'm going to put this on my back counter here. I found this is for the 250th anniversary of America, and I like Monster. So one day maybe it'll be a sponsor. Who knows? Yeah, right. But this is an ultra red, white, and blue raspberry, and it is delicious, and it's got all kinds of cool iconography on it for the 250th anniversary of the country. So There you go, Monster. Maybe you can become a sponsor one of these days. We'll see. But there was that congressional state Congress lady that was in Ohio that was arrested for all kinds of fraud and everything. And Nick Freitas comes out and goes, you know, all of my Democratic colleagues were furious and upset with these raids by FBI and blah blah blah, and going on and on about it. He goes, but you know, one of the words they didn't say was surprised. Long story short, this lady was arrested and well, I don't know if she was actually technically arrested. It was like all of her stuff was raided, including her cannabis shop that she had while she was also in the state Senate or Congress. Doesn't really make sense, but whatever. Was all raided because of the fraud that she was into. It was wild. She's an old lady, and apparently she liked to party, so it was wild, the stuff that she was into. And he goes, notice the word that they're not saying is shocked or surprised, because they're not really shocked or surprised. Now, what will shock you or surprise you is this. So I had mentioned how Virginia, the state Supreme Court, had shot down the bid by the Democrats to redistrict in a horrible, super gerrymandered way that would disenfranchise 50 basically percent of the state and create so 51-49 is the voting in the state. And they had 6 representatives for the Democrats and 5 for the Republicans, which kind of fits, I guess, if you're going to do a 51-49. And they wanted to change it to 10 to 1 ratio in the state. Now, here's the crazy thing. Apparently, it's now come out that the Democrats are so irritated by the fact that they were not able to win in the Supreme Court that they have now decided they are going to do 3 potential things to try to be able to overturn this. One is to invoke the circuit court ruling that invalidated the referendum due to county officials not posting notice of it at courthouses 3 months before the election to invalidate the 2020 constitutional amendment that created the Independent Redistricting Commission, by arguing that the courthouses also had not posted notice of it at the time either. Basically, the same technicality that kicked the referendum out because it was wrong and not notified in advance, they want to reinforce it because the court's decision wasn't referred through or wasn't posted 3 months in advance. I mean, it's just stupid stuff. Trying to trick and play it. But this is the one that gets it really, really, really at home. When this is the impact. This is the impact. Okay. When do not forget this. Do not forget this. When the Democrats want to say that Republicans and conservatives do not follow the rule of law, be reminded of who starts the battles of trying to arrest their political enemies or opposition. Democrats. Who goes after people in an insane way during January 6th, trying to punish people nonstop? It's the Democrats. When we have BLM and they're just allowed to do whatever they want to when they burn down the entire country. It gets worse. So because the Supreme Court of Virginia decided to strike down their thing, they want to now, because they have like a majority in the state house, to lower the mandatory retirement age for justices in their Supreme Court from 75 to 54 or less. That way they could remove every single justice on their Supreme Court, and then the Democratic majority in this legislature could appoint 7 new justices. They fabricate a bad map that is unconstitutional to their very own constitution. And when their Supreme Court tells them that it's wrong, they say, fine, we'll just remove all of you and put the hacks that we want on that court. If they're willing to do that to this court, don't believe them when they tell you that they won't do it to the Supreme Court. Given the opportunity, they will drive you into the dirt. Given the opportunity, they will kill you. And you say, wow, Caleb, you're being really hyperbolic right here. No. Because the leftist violence in this country is the one that's trying to kill all the conservatives. We can ask Charlie Kirk about that. We can talk about the death threats and the actual death attempts on Donald Trump. We can also talk about the attempts on people in his cabinet, or let's talk about the congressional baseball game from years ago when the whip Scalise was shot. Oh yeah, that was a Democrat too, huh? Yeah. Or the many times that someone like even Michael Knowles, who, by the way, the most milquetoast, easygoing guy when it comes to even debates, and they tried to blow him up. If they're going to go after them, they're going to go after you. And they've proven that they want you gone and dead. How do I know? Because after Charlie Kirk was killed, was assassinated, all of them were coming out and saying how this should happen to anyone who believes like him. How his beliefs are what got him there. This is not a game. This is not a pastime to entertain yourself. This is warfare, and it needs to be treated that way. And in this election, it matters who we vote in. Now, as a final thing, it amazes me that, you know, they try to say that, oh man, sorry, my neck. They try to say that men and women are exactly the same. And so hence transgender athletes can totally just go into women's sports. Why not? And yet the story is now out that a male who pretends to be a woman who was playing volleyball just decides to change sports and go to crossing country, and then was setting records by, like the long jump, setting it by 3 feet, the record that was previous held. I don't know many girls who can go from one sport to another sport and just dominate. It's kind of like there's an advantage. And when will we decide that we're not going to let it happen anymore? And on the final note before you go, apparently North Korea is terrified that Kim Jong-un is going to be killed, or rather Kim Jong-un is terrified. And so he has left instructions that if he is taken out, like, you know, people in Iran, then their nuclear arsenal will be released. So, hey, at least the good news is it's not like they're trying to hide the ball at all. So I guess we got to keep Kim Jong-un alive for a little bit longer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this makes a difference to you. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you take it seriously, and I hope you try to impact those around you to grow the base, to grow the people that understand what is happening, have their eyes open. Because there's a lot of people that want to pull their hands back and say, I don't want to be involved in politics, not realizing just how much impact is in their life and how every small choice can have a ripple effect in their life. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help. And share it. If you have a Facebook, post it on Facebook. If you have a Twitter, post it on Twitter. If you have a TikTok, post it. No, I don't know. You can't really do it on TikTok, but wherever. Spread the word, please. Thank you so much. Have a good day.